After a demoralizing fall apart against Kansas, the Bears' Big 12 hopes are still not over. They just need to beat Kansas State on the road tonight. Sounds easy, right? This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Baylor. Drake Toll from Sports Illustrated's Inside the Bears. Cameron Stewart from Sports Illustrated's Inside the Bears. Thank you for making Locked On Baylor your first listen every single day. The Bears lose by 16 to KU on the road in just the worst basketball game I've ever seen. Like that's the worst way for a loss.
So like they lost by 16 to Allen Fieldhouse. You know, it happens. It just sucks that they were never in the game, you know?
Right. Oh, you almost like it that way, though, right? You like that they weren't in the game. Your heart's never broken. No hope gets up. So you're like, okay, they lost. They're going to drop to like 12th in the country. They stayed at 9. This week, the AP voters are like, yeah, we'll keep them. They're good.
The rankings are nuts, man.
They don't make any sense at all.
I mean, I'm trying to devalue it as much as possible. I told you it's the new batting average. Like or wins is actually better. The pitching wins is better at this point.
Yeah.
Because that really nowadays means like nothing. Batting average still means something. The rankings right now mean just nothing.
Kansas State.
And that's coming from a team that's inside the top 10, by the way.
Inside the top 10, number 9. That's why I follow like analytical rankings, like shot quality, Evan Mia, even Ken Palm. I follow those. Which
before you go into this?
Yeah,
I thought about Ken Palm today.
What do you think about Kenny?
I wanted to share a story with the people because
Ken Pomeroy.
They love laughing at me. They love thinking I'm stupid because they're right. I didn't know until maybe last year, maybe 2021. I just thought Ken Palm was some like radar, like some sort of acronym or something. Yep. And then I saw the Ken Pomeroy Twitter account and I was like, oh, this is like a Cyclone Larry of advanced analytics. And I was like, oh no, that's a guy named Ken Pomeroy. And Ken Palm is short for that. Like that's his real name given to him at birth. And this is his metric.
Yeah.
Good for him, by the way. I mean,
he dictates
college making
basketball.
A metric, and like that just becomes like very important.
You know how many AP voters are like, I wonder what Ken Palm says today, and that's basically what they base theirs off of. Yeah, 100%.
And it's legit. Like Joe Lunardi invented the bracketology thing, and that's whatever. But like this guy basically invented his own like statistic, essentially.
Yeah, like an algorithm. He created an algorithm.
His own rubric. Yeah.
Like, I don't get like how you could be like, hey, I'm going to punch in rebounds here. Let's do offensive glass. Let's do defensive glass separate. Like, what does that algorithm look like? It's like spreadsheet?
Like, what is bracketology when we're being honest? Like
RPI.
Oh, you said a number 8 team is a 2 seed. No feces, man. Like, of course they are. Yeah. Anyway. Ken Palm. Shout out to Ken Palm today. Honestly,
this Kansas State team, they lost. So, look, this is kind of on the same topic. This Kansas State team lost 3 of 4 there for a little bit. They were bad. They were reeling for a while. Even Drum Tang was like, "Oof, we can't do this." They just won against Iowa State. So they've still lost 3 of 5, but now have won 2 of 3. They're trending upward a little bit. They needed to. They were reeling for a while, and now they get a break. They get a night off tonight against the worst defense in the Big 12, rated 82nd in Ken Palm defensively, the Baylor Bears at home. I mean, I think Jerome Tang could sweep Scott Drew in year number 1 at the helm of Kansas State. And obviously the Wildcats are going to be favored. They didn't even drop, by the way. They only at 14. They lost 3 of 5, only went to 14.
I mean, it's nuts. They're like Iowa State last year. I mean, that's what it is when you've got a new coach in. You get the hype at the beginning. You know, you get your guys playing hard for you, and they've sustained as a legitimate top 15 team. So,
yeah.
On the other hand, I'm not going to go too analytical because I'm filling in for Brandon McKinnon today. He is not a numbers guy, so I'm going to stick to that. Y'all didn't expect a numbers show.
He had a sewage issue
without numbers. Kansas State was playing really well when they played at Waco, in Waco last month. And they had everything going for them. Baylor had nothing going for them. 0-2, like bad kind of desperate. And Kansas State beat them by 2 in overtime. When Baylor was at their worst, Kansas State was at their best. They had just done the 116 against UT or whatever. Now, it's not exactly a flip of the script because Baylor's reeling a little bit coming off of Saturday, but Kansas State is not hot. They don't have things going for them, well, albeit still a good team, but they are not coming in hot. Bramlage has been kind of mid the last couple games after some really nice starts in terms of the atmosphere. So I think you can feel good about that as a Baylor fan. Can't feel too great about Saturday, right? But Baylor's come up off the mat every time this year. Every time. And we know the makeup of this team still, at least skill-wise. We know that is still a Final Four team on paper. Don't get the Final Fours on paper. So I think that's a good thing for Baylor fans. I think that is something positive to look at going into this game. Kansas State's reeling. You're not going to put out a second half performance like you did on Saturday. You're not going to do that again, probably. I would feel good about this.
Mm-hmm. What you would? Do you feel good about this game?
I do. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I won't fill in for McKinnon doing that. But I do feel good. I feel good. Feel better than I did going into Saturday.
The best player on the floor in this game doesn't play for Baylor. Oh, it's not Flo. Close. He's up there. The best player on the floor in this game is Keontae Johnson. I mean, great story at Kansas State, too. He's seasoned, and he's averaging 17.4 points per game. That's the most of anybody in this game. And not only is he doing that, he's shooting 51.2%. The guy.
Are you meaning to tell me that the best player named Keontae in this game does not play for the Baylor Bears?
Not only that, but the best player whose first name's Keontae and last name starts with a J sound.
No.
There are two of
them.
You're
having a laugh.
And Kansas State has the better of the two. Keontae Johnson, 7.4 rebounds per game, 73% of the line. Could be better. Okay, you come into the game with the best player. You're playing at home. Tuesday night, Super Tuesday at Bramlage, the Octagon of Death or whatever, Doom, whatever they're calling it now, which was not cool. And then Jerome Tang was like, hey, let's make this cool. And might I say, you're playing Jerome Tang, which kind of weird that this Kansas State team has been a little more built on offense. They were at least to start conference play. Then they played Iowa State and they held them to 55 points. That's what Jerome Tang does. He's good at the intensity, the defense thing.
Coach to their strengths at first.
Keontae Johnson.
And now is building them in his image.
So
who's going to capital H does.
So who's going to do it? Who's going to guard Keontae Johnson successfully? How are you going to shut down a Kansas State offense that beginning of the Big 12 year is potent? And then defensively, I don't know if you knew this, Baylor has the worst defense in the Big 12. We don't mention that enough. We don't talk about it a lot. They are outside of the quad one in college basketball in defense, and that is not good.
And for Baylor fans, to give you an example, I hate to compare these two teams, but that 2021 team, you can make an argument the best team of the 2000s. I will hear that argument, right? Okay. That 2021 Baylor team. This year's team has everything else but half of Davion Mitchell.
All right,
but the defensive half of Davion Mitchell. And look, he was an all-time on-ball defender.
Is he the greatest Baylor basketball player of all time?
I don't know about that, man. But
it's either him or the microwave.
Great tweet by John Morris yesterday about the microwave, a little 40-point game on that day in like 79 against TCU.
Baylor history.
Microwave might be number one. But Davion Mitchell had as good of a season individually in terms of what he did and what the team accomplished because of what he did as any Baylor player in history. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I wish we could get it like him. Yeah, that man dominated. Is genuinely one of the best defensive guards I have ever seen and became an elite offensive player, especially the second half of that season. Because remember the 2020 season, we're getting into a Davion Mitchell thing here, and I don't know if we need to, but 2020 season, he was leave him alone at the top of the key. Uh-huh. He was not a shooter, decent passer, good facilitator. James Akinjo as a great defender.
Maybe a better
and
attitude.
Then he became Jared Butler and a great defender. Unbelievable stuff. So that's what I mean. Baylor, if they had almost half of what Davion Mitchell was defensively in one player, that's a Final Four Sharpie team.
Yeah.
Sharpie team.
Yeah.
And they don't. And look, I mean, Flagler's a good on-ball defender, not a great one by any stretch, but good. Probably a little underrated, but I mean, nowhere near the stopper that you need. And there isn't a stopper at any position on this team, unfortunately.
Not Keontae. Definitely not Keontae.
No,
not
Keontae gets better by the game defensively, but he's not going to be that.
Not LJ. That's not LJ.
No, LJ tries, man. But
Jalen, every now and then.
Jalen Bridges is a good defender. Good defender.
Jonathan Chama
on his good days, a very good defender.
Every day, John will come out. He will not guard you for very long.
If
He's
you
still
call
hurt,
him
guys.
if you call him JTT, I'm going to cut your head off.
They'll hunt you down. They'll kill you. I
Twitter
know
did not
a guy.
like that.
I have a fraternity brother. They call him JTT. It's been months. Haven't seen him in months. It's been months,
man. The people were not happy about that.
You tweeted
Anyway,
JTT and you shouldn't have. They missed the entire point of the tweet. Here's this really good thing about this good guy. F you for saying it.
I was literally, it was, from my standards, like the most apologetic I could be. It was something like he had gotten his third foul, 2 of them. He was just missed a half a step, and it just wasn't his day. And I literally said in the tweet, I was like, Loner and Flo, like they got to pick it up a little. Like they got to pick up their guy. And all that remained was, if you call him JTT, I will come to your house and burn it down. He doesn't like that, so don't type out those letters ever again. I'm going to
stop.
kill you.
He has a name.
Anyway, yes, he's lost a step. I mean, not kind of. He has, and that's to be expected. And he's given a lot more defense or offensively this year than he had in the past. So I guess that's a split.
Why do you think
I mean, that's something you got to deal with.
Why do you think he's lost a step? And
why?
Caveat. Do you think Fran Fraschilla could tell us why? And if he saw why, maybe even like an approximate, if he saw how far away he was.
Fran Fraschilla is the ultimate, when a play-by-play broadcaster tweets out something of a game he did, and he was like, yeah, this was a fun one to call.
I was
play-by-play broadcasters only do that to say that I was at this game. Fran Fraschilla does that in audio form every game.
Right.
I was about 20 feet away, and when he went down,
snapped his leg in half. I saw it.
I'm telling you, I didn't think he was going to play basketball again.
Right there,
and I coached in the best conference ever.
Here he is. I coach basketball, John. All right, Fran. Speaking of all right, what's better than all right? That is Built Bar. Built.com is where you should go for Built Bars. Or go to Sam's Club. Or go to Walmart. You got to try Built. With Built, it's healthy, it's tasty, it's 100% real chocolate. It's a 100%, that is right, real chocolate. 2 weeks. 2 weeks away from Los Cabos, San Mexico. I'm going to Mexico in 2 weeks for spring break. I hope it's warm there. I do. So I've been cutting down, you know. I'm at like a decent 198. I want to get down to like a 192, like a little more chiseled 192. I got to eat a cheeseburger at some point. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use Built Bar to do it. 100% real chocolate. It's the best. It's the best. So go try it. Sam's Club, Walmart, Built.com. Any of those things. They're the unofficial partner, sponsor of Locked On. Try them out. See what they say. See what they taste like. I think you're going to like it. Built.com, Sam's Club, Walmart. That's Built Bar. Find one. All right. Big 12 standings. We talked about this a little bit. It's weird, you know.
There's only 10 teams in it. That's odd.
Yes. 7 teams.
It only ranks the top 10.
7 teams get in. TCU, who beat Kansas a while ago. Maybe they did last night. Hopefully. They are 7-7, which is tied for 8th and 7th in the conference, which is wild. West Virginia, Texas Tech, and Oklahoma outside looking in. Texas Tech could sneak in. West Virginia could sneak in. Both of them
don't blow past that. Tech's
won 3 straight,
which is incredible.
3 straight.
Incredible. They legitimately. I mean, there's a lot to do. It's all to play for, but they could sneak into this thing.
The Bears of Baylor, however, 9-5 in conference play, a game back of 10-4 Texas and 10-4 Kansas. We'll see how Kansas does. If Baylor loses to Kansas State on the road, drum roll please, they are not winning the Big 12 conference.
Probably not. Yeah.
No, definitely not. Period.
Statistically not.
Period. They are not winning the Big 12 conference if they lose. Calling it. I also here. You know what? I want to come out.
There's a chance.
I want to come out a little bit. Not like that. They like
coming
fire
out.
me.
All right, here we go. Here we go.
I have to go host something different than Locked On Baylor.
Locked on Cougs.
I'm not a pessimist. I get it. I say some stuff sometimes, such as this. Baylor's not going to win the Big 12 if they lose tonight at Kansas State. I say that. There are some Locked On hosts. I listen to other shows. I've listened to some. And some guys are nice. They're happy-go-lucky. They're like, hey, I'm a big fan of the team, which I am. I am. And everything is sunshine and roses and rainbows and all of that stuff. And if you like that, then that's good. I bet somebody else is out there for you. There are Baylor Bear insiders and things like that and people that will write that stuff or say that stuff. And then that's good. That's good. It's a lot of Baylor media. But I'm going to tell you straight up exactly what it is and how it is. If Baylor loses to Kansas State tonight, they are out of the Big 12 title race and they're not going to win the Big 12 championship. You've got to win the games on the road and at home, pretty much the rest of your games to win the Big 12 championship right now. And it starts tonight. If they lose tonight, say goodbye, start thinking about something else, start getting ready for March. Hell, start watching baseball if I care. They're doing all right, Cam? You went. I didn't see the
Yeah, I did. I love baseball. That's why I'm going to leave it at that. I love Baylor and I love baseball.
But that's what's on the line tonight. I love Baylor, but let's be honest. A loss tonight does it. You're done in. It's done. It's over. Sorry. Arrivederci.
No, I think that's fair.
So. I mean, thankfully, what happens now? I mean, do you win in Bramlett? Super Tuesday? How's the crowd tonight?
I think
God bless. I mean, you think Baylor wins tonight?
I think Baylor wins tonight.
Okay, well, ESPN does too, just barely though. They have Baylor projected like a 52.4% chance to win.
That's fair.
You say Baylor's going to win. You're no Brandon McKinnon here with the stats and the stuff.
Yeah, I'm not saying like this is going to be a 12-point victory.
Yeah, it's just like a
gut
thing. What are you going with?
Yeah, mostly, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be stunned if they lost. But I just think I think they're going to correct what they did wrong on Saturday. People laughed at me when I said in the first half, when Baylor was up 17 at Allen Fieldhouse, the Kansas Jayhawks hitting everything. I said, hey, whispers, this is not going to last. Teams do not shoot 75% from three for entire games.
That's true.
That
does
not happen.
He has a point.
And I just said, I literally said, I was like, you don't need Ralph Sampson down there scoring back to the basket every time. You don't need that.
You don't need Karl Malone.
The world does not need Karl Malone. In fact, the world would be a better place without Karl Malone, okay? Look, we're all God's creatures, but we don't need Karl Malone.
Not all created equal.
Anyway, Karl Malone, bad guy. Big into police,
not even controversial.
Big into supporting police. So look up Karl Malone 12 on Google and see what that pops up. Anyway, so you don't need that, right? But what you need is some sort of deception offensively. The great NBA teams, the great shooting teams, their guards pull floaters out of their butts all the time because it stretches things out. Like you need some touches in the paint. You need some penetrations. Okay, you need to penetrate the paint a little bit.
Got to bang in the post.
You got to bang and penetrate. That's what you need to do. You don't need to be scoring down there every time. You don't need to score. All right, but you need to bang and penetrate.
P and the B.
And that'll open up some baskets for your guys, by the way, in the post. You don't need them every time down. But they weren't doing that, by the way. My point was that they weren't doing that. 45 points in the first half. Everyone knows 42 come from the three guards. The other 3 is a 3-point basket by Jalen Bridges, who's a decent 3-point shooter. I'm like, that is not going to last. He's a decent 3-point shooter.
He's an okay 3-point shooter.
You're thinking about November. He's a decent 3-point shooter.
Oh, well, okay.
So I think they're going to make that adjustment because they've done it a couple of times this year. They've gone kind of back and forth with this. They didn't have the penetration offense against TCU because TCU is a damn good defense. They didn't really have it against UT because I just think they were a little in a funk. But against Tech, who's now a tournament team, they had it. Against OU, they really had it. That game we were at against West Virginia, they had it. So I'm listing off some bad teams here. But they changed their game around in those offensively, and it's yielded the best results by far in this conference schedule. So
Keontae George is fifth in the league.
I think they're going to adjust their offense.
2.4 3-pointers per game. Here's speaking of adjustments, Cam. Why don't you at home adjust? Yeah. Change your life around with FanDuel. It's insane. I love FanDuel. I've been betting on the XFL. I am an XFL fan. The DC Defenders throwing lemons on the field. Big fan of the DC Defenders. Right now, it's the midway point of the NBA season, but it's just the beginning of the XFL season. And you can go bet on the XFL with a no-sweat first bet, $1,000 to FanDuel. If it doesn't hit, you get $1,000 back in free play. It's a bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Download the FanDuel sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, it's easy to use. You can bet on everything from money line to point spread, scores, threes drained, all that stuff in the NBA. Bet on like points and spreads and stuff in the XFL. FanDuel even lets you combine for bets for a chance at bigger payout with same-game parlays. Your no-sweat first bet can be found at FanDuel.com/locked-on. FanDuel.com/locked-on. Keep in mind, terms and conditions do apply. It's the official sportsbook of the NBA. Scott Drew. Scott, what do you think about Kansas State coming up tonight?
Trying to be multiple and having your guys give different looks to people going down the stretch.
Well, I can think most of our league has multiple defenses, multiple adjustments. We have the same. Probably against Kansas, we wish we would have tried more options because obviously what we tried didn't work. At the same time, I think transition defense is always transition defense. Doesn't matter what you're doing there, and that's twofold. You turn it over, you take bad shots, you're going to be in transition defense. If you take care of the ball, you make shots, that helps with that. And then our communication skills with our effort to get back. We got back several times and we had no communication. So you got to do both. And team saw that. We saw that. We'll get better at it.
Go ahead, Eric.
Coach, just in terms of that, what you see from your guys 24, 48 hours after that loss against Kansas, that in terms of a response?
Well, I think first and foremost, if you're not upset after a loss, you're probably not a good player or coach. So everyone was down, everyone was upset. And then you got to process it, you got to learn from it, and you got to get better from it. And I think at the end of the day, I think we have the winningest road record in the Big 12 the last 5 years. And Kansas, I think, has lost, 3 games in how many years at home. So it's a tough place to play. Their crowd does a great job. Coach Self's a great coach. Their players played better than us second half, coach better than us. And now we have another chance to play on the road. And is it easy? No. I mean, doesn't matter who you are. I think Purdue's lost 3 or 4 road games. So it's hard to win on the road. You got to do everything you can to give yourself a chance to, and we'll control what we can control and try to be better at that, and then let the chips fall where they may.
What did you guys learn in that first matchup against Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel about how to maybe try and contain that Kansas State guard duo?
Honestly, we learned nothing because we knew how good both of them were, and we saw how good they were playing. I learned Noel can shoot from the jump ball circle in the Farrell Center. And I know Keontae's somebody you have a lot of respect for what he's overcome, and he's a great player. And their staff's done a great job with those two. And we know what challenges we have with them. At the same time, it's a great challenge to play against great players, and it's great opportunity too. And their team wins because of their team, not just 2 people.
Matt Lively, go ahead.
Hey, Scott. I know it's easy to kind of say taking one game at a time, but how do you block out knowing what you need to do to still win a Big 12 title and keeping your players on track?
I think it works hand in hand. If you don't take care of what you got to do for each game, you don't have a chance at a title. So, I mean, that's the beauty of playing in the Big 12. I mean, packed houses, crowds are crazy. You're ready to play. It's really challenging and hard, but you're definitely focused. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but you don't need to motivate a team before a Big 12 game, because you walk out and it's packed houses and places going bananas. Music's playing, guys are ready to go. You just got to make sure they stay in character and control what they can control.
We've just been working on, the same things, getting back in transition, Finding the best ways to get our best player shots. Just trying to clean up some little nicks. At the end of the day, we want to be, at our peak in March, and, just a lot of things that we can get better at. So we just figuring out, how to come together as a collective and, make things, the right way, do things the right way.
That was Scott Drew talking about Kansas State and those Wildcats. This is Drake Toll. That's Cameron Stewart. Karl Malone just sucks.
Oh, so bad, dude. Like a bad freaking dude. I saw
And
too
we can
much
say it.
Karl Malone penetration on the timeline this weekend. Far too much.
Like if you
roll
were,
out as much Sean Stockton as you want in Utah, I don't need no Karl Malone.
if you were, you're right.
I don't need
If we were to say, like, this could be controversial, if we were like, yeah, Scottie Pippen's the worst. Like, wow, whoa.
they'd be like, oh, I haven't heard that.
Don't pick on that guy. Like, what? Hey, unwarranted. No, like we can say literally whatever we want about Karl Malone and not get fired. Because
there are some, obviously a lot of athletes, professional athletes, especially stars. There are a lot of like bad eggs, bad people, but like had friends, like teammates liked them and stuff. No one liked Karl Malone.
You
Like,
think Jerry?
nobody.
You think Jerry Lee Lewis's band liked him? You think Jerry Lee Lewis and do you think Jerry Lee Lewis and Karl Malone were friends?
I'll bet they did like fundraisers together. You know what I
bet.
mean? Like athletes when like one of them tears their ACL and like another player was like, "Hey man, I'm here if you need anything. I've been through this." You think that happened too?
Like the guys that grew up in the area.
Look. I know. You're getting put in the spotlight here, and it's just not fair. It's not fair. Look, I'm here to talk. I've been through this too. I've been through the middle school girlfriend thing.
Karl Malone, Jerry Lee Lewis, locked on Baylor.
Karl Malone. It's on site, Karl Malone. It
They
is
had to
on
be friends.
site if you ever come to Waco, Texas.
They had to be
You ever
friends.
come on Locked
dude.
On Baylor. Hey, we're going to be doing some Utah trips in the next couple of years.
We
Not
will
next
be.
year, but I mean,
Confidential.
but these are also the same Salt Lake people who think that the Big 12 is truck. What do they call it? The truck stop conference?
Hey,
Flyover
great
states?
people on both
Those
sides.
dumb hicks of the Big 12.
Great people on both sides. Let's not.
Look,
Great
it's
people.
just like, who does Utah think they are?
Wow.
No shade on Utah. We enjoyed our time in Utah. I really liked it. But they think like because we have a mountain that
They do. And that
we
lake
can't
with salt.
associate with those hicks in
With salt.
Austin and Orlando.
Thanks for making your first listen every single day. Come back tomorrow. We'll talk about the recap of the game. Baylor!